Hi there, welcome to the Becoming Zesty podcast or the YouTube channel page. If you are here watching this from that, if you are listening, just know that there's a video associated with this over on our YouTube channel. It's at becoming_zesty, so check that out. All right, so today we're going to talk about the topic of yelling in anger, sharing our anger with God and the universe, or screaming and sort of attacking the universe or God. Obviously, a really big topic today, but it's one that I had a really interesting experience with myself recently, and I wanted to share the experience because to me, I think it makes a huge distinction in the authenticity. A lot of times these days, I spend all day long thinking about things like authenticity. How do I help move people? And we work with leaders, right? So how do we move leaders so that they are living authentically? And then that attracts, because authenticity is the main thing right now, right? People are responding the most to authenticity from somebody. Not in the past. It used to be whether they like them, whether they saw themselves in them, all that stuff. But nowadays it's more, are you real? Did ChatGPT write this? When I see you, when I am here to learn from you, are you really living what you say you are living? And are you who you say you are? So that's kind of the rub, right? And so when it comes to that conversation, then each leader, the starting leader, authenticity is where we're all role modeling from. And the people that follow us, then that's kind of what the basis is for showcasing it. And so as leaders, it puts us very directly into the state of making sure that we are really who we say we are. And we have to, sometimes we are asked to take that all the way down into the realness of who we are every single day. And what I mean by that is that it's so tempting so often to be like, let me up level on business, let me do scary stuff. Meanwhile, a part of your life's a disaster and you're like, I'm not trying to deal with that right now. Let me go make some money, then I'll deal with it. But again, you can hear the inauthenticity there. If you're sitting up saying, come this way, and there's an area of your life that's a disaster, where is the authenticity in that? And now I'm not knocking anybody, because I think we're all works in progress. And I think sometimes people listen to this kind of stuff and are like, I have to be perfect. And that's not at all what authenticity is. It's just being real, being like, this is what I struggle with, right? And I even opened up by saying this conversation is coming from a place of, I just recently went through this, so I'm sharing that, right? And you should be able to hear whether I landed the plane in terms of I was upset about something, then I wasn't anymore. So, right, so obviously the resolution happened in a way where I feel happy, I'm good, everything's fine, everything's good. And so that's what it looks like. It's not the absence of problems, it's not the absence of figuring stuff out, because really in leadership, that is what we're role modeling. So to think we're going to have an idyllic state in life and whatever, and help figure out other people's problems, not so much how it works. And so when it comes down to it, I was having a moment where I was feeling frustrated. I was like, I feel like the world, it does not work the way it used to work, and it's tough to figure out, right? And as a leader, there's no one else to look ahead, because you're the leading edge sometimes, right? Depending on what kind of leadership you chose, sometimes there is nobody else to watch. There's nobody else doing what you do, right? That's kind of how we feel. And so in that space, figuring out that authenticity between how can I respond to when I have a struggle with life, right? We are sort of taught, especially in co-creating and manifesting and the metaphysical world of spirituality, a lot of times we are reminded that, what we think and we feel and we do matters, and then we receive the results to come. So there's a natural focus on results, which is, for our standpoint, exactly where the focus should be. I'm not just here to have fun along the journey, though I am, but I'm also here to have the stuff and then hit the next journey. So, the result is really cool, and it's a nice thing to focus on. And of course, when we do our 7-day in-person certifications for leaders, That's a big part of a lot of times people have made them feel like the results aren't as important. Just have patience. And our point is really not that, you know, let's just get it, let's help the world, and let's really make it happen. There's not much else after that. And so when it comes to processing things like frustration, things like that, that's where a leader's authenticity on that approach is so paramount. But I realized when I was going through it recently that there was a big distinction for me on outcomes when I felt the need to classify myself as having done something wrong. Like, for example, I think the reason I felt like I was yelling at the universe or yelling at God and just sort of blasting negativity in that general direction from a place of anger and frustration, because I was like, I have to pick. I can't be angry and still come to the universe and come to God, because I'm wrong for that, right? I should be in my nice, calm, peaceful meditation, kumbaya, you know, rainbows out the butt kind of state. And I had this misunderstanding that I needed to show up, because you don't manifest from a negative place. You don't manifest from anger. And that's what I'm told, right? And recently I had already been working on those concepts, but it completely crumbled those structures, where then I got to really say, there is nothing about true feelings of, and this is how I am at the moment. There is nothing inherently bad about that. Like, that is just as authentic as I can get. So when I said, well, the universe and God, whichever way your mind speaks to you, whichever word makes more sense, when I was made, humans have frustration and anger and things like that. So why am I thinking that I have to cherry pick what God allows, what the universe wants to see, what is normal and what's not? It was me creating that separation to say, I'm not good enough to come at your feet here. So when I began to switch that around and say, what if this is me doing the authentic thing that I'm being asked to do? So when I feel that frustration, when I feel the anger, this is me just as much as the part that's like helpful and kind and being of service and puts other people first and doesn't go on the offense, right? And it was crazy how it changed the experience so much, because all I had to do was say, I'm allowed to share this anger with the universe. There's a place for me in this universe, and there's a place for my frustration and anger in the universe. Now it all fit, right? And it all fit in a way where I could actually ask for help. I have this thing, I'm dealing with this thing, but I am not the anger. I am not the frustration. So could I please have help with it? At that point, it was so much easier to put it down. So see how that works? It was me deciding that it was right or wrong, and that determined whether I could put it down. When I'm like, this bad thing, I have this, I'm stuck with it and whatever, well, there's no chance to put it down. But when I say this is just a part of who I am, and that part is having a hard time, and I'm going to take all of me over there and say all of me brought this part to the universe, to God, to have this discussion, to ask for help, to say, I need guidance here. The world's changing and I don't know what to do. And I also don't want to listen to anybody else's authority. I want to go to source. I want to share how I feel, and I want to be comforted at that level. I want to see that this doesn't define me. This is just a couple day blip where I'm having a hard time, and then I can get the help that I need. But again, I cannot, if I start with the premise of I have to pick which part of me I come bring forth authentically, that part's hard. I don't know that I'd ever pick bringing what I perceive is a less than proud part of me forward like that. You know what I mean? It only ever makes sense to me when I'm bringing the whole crew, right? It's like the part of me that understands that I'm loved and protected and helped and supported in the universe, that's the part that's going to walk the angry part over to the universe and to God and say, why don't we put this down and we ask for the help that we need, right? That is where the authenticity towards ourselves and treating ourselves well really looks like. Because what was amazing is that I struggled on my own getting to there, but once I got to there, all of a sudden all these people in the form of humans like that can be helpful just started popping out, and I started having helpful conversations, more clarity started to flow. Now, I think when people share that kind of stuff, someone who's in the weeds and is struggling listens to that and they're like, man, I want the thing where I'm struggling and then I make a decision, this guy opens up and it's real clear. I just want to clarify that that's not how it looks. Now, does that happen? Sure, yeah, absolutely. Is that most of the time? I have not found that to be the case at all. Okay, it is generally a moment by moment, hour by hour lightening of my mood, of my state, of my ability to see. And then as I come out over kind of the fog that I was in and the anger and the feelings that I was feeling, then clarity and decisions begin to emerge, and then things start to flow. And now, you can hear this podcast episode. All of us do that, but I want to make sure to sort of show behind the curtain on what it actually looks like, because I had that misunderstanding too, and honestly, it will derail you. If you think this is like a comfortable, it was just like, and angels, like, it's not like that. It has rarely ever been like that. And I really don't expect that in the future either, because I think when I think of something like that happening, my only reaction to that is to hand it over and to say, that's universe, and I really appreciate it, and thank you so much. But do you see how if I'm expected to learn to stand on my own 2 feet, me just offhanding that and giving the credit to someone else figuring that out, how does that help me be an inspiring, empowered leader? I'm hard pressed to say that it will. Not because I don't want to, but because those 2 things are completely different undertakings, right? I love miracles. I do believe in them. I think it's fabulous. But if our whole life we're just moving from miracle to miracle, how are you building the confidence in what you create and what you decide, what you fight for, what you are able to withstand? The things that you said, it didn't look like it was going to work out, and I stuck with it anyways and saw it through, and it did work out. All those things can't happen when blessings just come plopping in, right? Now, I'm not telling you how to look at the world. I'm just simply sharing my thoughts on why I land on the ideas that I do to share here. Because I want to help people understand the how of what this actually looks like. Most leaders are doing this stuff, but they don't share, right? They share the polished version of this to say, once it's perfect, once it's done, here's what you do, and then that's what it is. But when I used to compare myself to that as if that was their actual day-to-day reality, I felt terrible about myself. So if there's anything ever like that, I would challenge you, if you know the person, ask what happened along the way. If people like us, we have emails at support@becomingzesty.com. You just shoot us an email and we'll make a podcast episode on pulling back the curtain, right? Just ask people if they're willing to. A lot of times they will be. And then if not, some of the things we do have to, like I said, if we came up with a little plan for ourselves to figure something out and to be the ones to bring it into the world, well, it's probably not going to come from somebody else, right? You picked to be the one, so you're the one. And so that kind of thing, we're not necessarily going to be given. But if there are things that can be shared as leaders, let's go ahead and do that, because we can help a lot of people very, very, very quickly and get a lot of things done on the planet just by living how we live and being open about it and sharing what's going on. And that's it. Which, hey, isn't that good news, right? There's a lot of things to figure out. This is not one of those things. It's not a complicated process. And what we're doing is not, it's simple. Might not be easy to execute all the time, but heck, you can't get too much simpler than what do I want, and let me go figure out how that works in service to me and the world around me, right? So I leave you with the invitation of, which one have you been falling into? Are you sharing your feelings with the universe and God? Are you kind of blasting them at it? And what can this conversation tell you about that? Let's think on it. And of course, if you have any questions, shoot us an email or DM us. It's Becoming Zesty wherever you are. All right, I'll see you soon. Catch you later.